Joining me now, litigation counsel at the Freedom Foundation, Shella Sadovnik. Shella, tell us about your latest lawsuit.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a very serious issue for our children and the children of Los Angeles. The kids in LA who have not been to school in over a year have suffered from addiction to video games, obesity, mental health breakdowns, and worst of all, suicidal ideation. And all in the face of this, the union refuses to come back to full-time learning. In fact, just to mention the graduation rates you discussed, I like to call this the great asynchronous learning fraud. Before COVID, children were receiving 5 to 6 hours of in-person instruction. Now they're on Zoom, not for 5 to 6 hours, but for 45 minutes, and the rest of the time, their parents become their teachers. Enough is enough. The kids have to go back full-time.
And there's a new survey out by the UCLA that says almost 75% of parents with children's ages 5 to 18 believe their children have been substantially hurt. So these are the parents. In a lot of cases, these parents have been at home schooling their kids, and now they're suing. So how much standing do you think they have in court going up against these teachers' union as witnesses really to the fact?
It's a really tough uphill battle. The union is nefarious and very powerful, and it's difficult, but they owe a duty to our children, and this is what our lawsuit is about. It's about the duty that's owed by the district and the union, which consists of the very teachers that are supposed to be teaching our children. And it's that duty that they've breached to our kids and that they need to pay for and come back to school and help teach them. Come back to how it used to be.
Well, it's unbelievable when you see 91% of the teachers that belong to this union say they don't want to go back. You realize when they're doing their list of demands, whether it's defund the police, the Green New Deal, and you're almost like at some point, do you even want these teachers to come back? I mean, they've got an agenda here that we've all exposed simply because of COVID. So do you think a lot of parents, too, are going to choose charter schools or homeschool just because they're seeing really how radicalized this teachers union has become?
Absolutely, and we are seeing that. We are seeing parents step away from the public schools, but at the same time, it's not an option for everyone. Not everyone can afford it, and not everyone can take the time off. Our public schools are mandated by the California Constitution, and they have to be open to serve our children.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's a teachers union, right? What are they if they're not teaching? They're just a union. And it's unbelievable to see because we're now seeing the harm that's being done. And when you see that they're not, the graduation rates, that they're not going to be graduating, it's like this crisis is going to be impacting us really for generations. If we have an uneducated or undereducated, I should say, generation going forward, what's our country going to look like 10 years from now?
Absolutely, and the teachers have taken the tack of let's not let a crisis go to waste, as Rahm Emanuel so pointedly said. They don't want to let this crisis of COVID go to waste. They're going to demand everything they want, regardless of how ridiculous it is. And sadly, it seems like LAUSD is giving in to most of those demands.
Because there's no motivation, right? It's a union, so they're not listening to the parents, to the kids. But as you say, this isn't just an educational crisis, it is a health crisis. We've seen the videos online of children in tears where they just can't even cope with learning online. You see them not being able to interact with friends. You hear reports of anxiety and depression among youth. So we're having a health crisis too. Is that going to be part of your lawsuit as well as the educational side of it?
You know, it's actually the crux of our lawsuit. These kids are damaged on a personal injury level. That is what our lawsuit is about. It's about the personal injury to the kids. We've tried constitutional claims. We've tried claims against LAUSD and other law firms have as well. But at the end of the day, it's the actual physical, mental, and educational harm to the kids that's going to be at the crux of what will help us win.
Well, thank you for what you're doing on behalf of the parents, of the kids, because especially in California, they don't feel like they have a voice anymore. So at least to know that you're at least calling attention to it, bringing attention to it, that's all we can do at this point. But keep us posted on your case. We're going to really be watching it because it's going to impact everybody at some point and every state as well.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me to discuss this.
Absolutely. We're with the parents and the kids out there.